Our next guest is the founder of a diversity and inclusion management consulting firm. Their new project is a fascinating read, and here's Jessica's conversation with them.
Our next guest is a Richmond-based award-winning author who is happy about their new book, Subtle Acts of Exclusion: How to Understand, Identify, and Stop Microaggressions. Dr. Tiffany Jana joins us by Skype. Welcome back to the show. It's great to see you.
Oh, thanks so much for having me again.
Congratulations on the book. This is no small feat, and you are a very busy individual. We were talking before we got started about how you really work almost working on two different coasts, right? And just sort of at a global level these days.
Indeed, indeed. The work that I do and that is needed all over the world, and I'm really grateful to be tapped in globally.
Dr. Jana, this is one of those conversations, and really even in picking up the book, Subtle Acts of Exclusion and Microaggressions, folks might not necessarily be familiar with what that is. Do we want to start by defining what a microaggression is?
Sure. Yeah, microaggressions are those seemingly small and subtle behaviors that people engage in, you know, whether it's touching a Black person's hair or dismissing a woman's comment in a meeting and then acknowledging the same words from someone else. All kinds of different small things that are done that are related to identity, diversity, equity, and inclusion. And even though they're seemingly small and they might be missed by, you know, in a traditional conversation or context, they cause a lot of pain to the person on the receiving end because they tend to happen over and over again.
And I'm sure plenty joining us right now are saying, I never do that. That never happens. I'm incredibly sensitive and that doesn't happen. But you say it happens at every level with everyone.
Absolutely. It's kind of tied to unconscious bias. We all have unconscious bias, which was the subject of my first two books. This is my fourth book. And the deal with microaggressions is, for the most part, we're not intending to cause any harm, but we do without realizing it. And this book is designed to empower people to figure out what to do when it happens to them, and also when they get called out and someone says, ooh, hey, by the way, what you just did, that was a microaggression and that was a little problematic.
Right, because that's incredibly uncomfortable, really, for everyone to have to deal with. And certainly if you were an unintending party and then to be called out on that, where do you go from there?
Yeah, so what we ask people to do, we create different levels of systems for if you are on the receiving end, if you're a witness, or if you're trying to create an inclusive institution, meeting, or team so that you can handle it. But if you're on the receiving end, the first thing is to just kind of step back and acknowledge what's happening and be grateful and actually say thank you for bringing this to my attention. Because when someone is telling you what has happened to them, the impact of your behavior, we get lost in our intent. Well, I didn't mean it that way. Well, your intent is not related to the impact that your behavior or your words have on another person. So listen to that, you know, be empathetic in that space, and then go back and do a little bit of introspection, maybe a little bit of research about whatever it was they said, and then follow up with that person to make sure that they're okay.
Especially if you accept that moment or that scenario as an opportunity, because the individual who is saying, hey, this is what I understood from that, is really being vulnerable at that time and really opening up a relationship so that you have a more true conversation or understanding.
Exactly. And that's why all of my books are written from this kind of, you know, you can pick it up, learn things, and implement it immediately in your life. But one of the things we're most proud of is the SAE accountability system. And that's, the SAE is short for Subtle Acts of Exclusion. And we're actually using that term to rebrand microaggressions, because the word microaggressions, it's kind of like if you call someone a racist, they're not going to be open to learning and becoming better versions of themselves. It puts people on the defensive. So we prefer the term Subtle Acts of Exclusion because it helps people kind of open up that empathetic space. But the SAE accountability system is designed for leaders who want to embed accountability in their organizations and just make an agreement that, look, we recognize they're going to happen from time to time, but here's how we're going to engage, and here's how we're going to invite each other in when we see it and create a more welcoming environment for everyone.
So was there a catalyst for you on digging into this particular area, or was this a natural evolution, since it is the fourth book that you've released?
It was kind of a natural evolution, because in my diversity work, I mean, at this point, I represent 5 intersectional identities. So I have 5 underrepresented identities that I exist within, which means that identity-based microaggressions happen to me all the time. I happen to be incredibly resilient to them, but the stories that I hear about how people are impacted over time, I just felt like this needed to be done because there was no book on microaggressions when we wrote it. So we were kind of the first to market with something of this size.
And then Dr. Jana, as this has been released and as you're starting to get input from folks, those folks who are maybe identifying with these were happening to me, right? How is the world opening up? What are you hearing? What's the response been?
Oh, so people are really grateful. The style of my books is very approachable. It's conversational. They're not too long. My co-author, Michael Barron, and I are experts in the field who do this work. So it's very practical, approachable, and it gives people tools that they can actually implement. I personally cannot stand the books that tell you the problem over and over again and then do not offer a solution. So this is a solution-based book that helps us skill up and become more culturally fluent.
Well, congratulations. What's next? What are you working on next?
I've actually got a couple of projects. I've got a couple of books coming out. A graphic novel is currently in design, and I'm working on shifting my genre. I'll be doing some speculative fiction soon.
Well, I tell you what, hashtag RVA is incredibly proud that you're calling it home, and it's great to see you again. It was wonderful talking with you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I did want to say that we have events that were supposed to be happening for the launch that will be virtual. So please check out my Facebook page to find out if you can tap into those virtual launches.
That's right. If Dr. Jana thought they were busy before, wait till you get a load of all the virtual work that you're going to be doing here. This is pretty incredible. Great talking with you. We appreciate it. Very best with everything. And as the next one comes out, hopefully we'll connect again. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with more Virginia This Morning.